June 6, 1944. The dawn breaks over the English Channel. A cold wind sweeps across the waves, carrying the sound of engines and the smell of diesel. Thousands of ships stretch across the horizon, an armada unlike any the world has ever seen. Among them, the men of the British 3rd Infantry Division and Royal Marine Commandos wait in silence. Their destination? Sword Beach. Their mission? To open the eastern flank of Operation Overlord and to begin the liberation of Europe. As the first light touches the sea, one thought echoes in every mind. This is it.
Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like and share this video.
The crossing. The night before the invasion was restless. Waves pounded against the steel hulls and rain lashed the decks. Inside the landing craft, men sat shoulder to shoulder. Tired, seasick, silent. They had trained for months, memorized naps, studied photographs of the beaches. But now, all that remained was waiting. The engines hummed beneath their feet, a steady rhythm against the roar of the sea. Some men smoked in silence, others gripped small photos, folded and worn, faces of wives, children, sweethearts left behind. One whispered a prayer. Another checked his rifle for the 5th time. In the darkness, an officer moved along the line, his voice calm but heavy. Remember your training. Stick to your units. We go ashore together. Overhead, the rumble of aircraft grew louder. Hundreds of bombers crossing toward France. The sky flashed faintly in the distance, like a storm on the horizon. Somewhere far ahead, the first shells were already falling. The men could smell the salt, the smoke, the fuel. They knew the coast was close. A red light flickered inside the craft. Helmets tightened. Hands gripped weapons. The engines roared louder as the boat turned toward shore. Outside, the sky began to pale. Dawn breaking over Normandy. The time had come. 30 seconds! The officer's voice cut through the thunder of waves. No one spoke. The air trembled with fear and resolve. For a moment, there was only the sound of the sea. And then, through the mist, the first sight of the French coast. Grey sand, barbed wire, and fire waiting to greet them. D-Day had begun. Landing under fire. The landing craft hit the shallows with a violent crash. Water surged over the bow, drenching the men inside. "Lower the ramp!" A burst of machine gun fire answered before the command was even finished. Bullets tore through the air, striking metal, wood, and men. The first few who stepped forward fell instantly, cut down before their boots touched the sand. Others leapt into the water, sinking beneath the weight of their packs, clawing their way toward the shore. The sea turned red. All around them chaos, explosions, shouting, the deafening scream of shells landing too close. The beach ahead was a nightmare of smoke and fire. "Go! Move! Get off the beach!" someone yelled. But the voice was lost in the roar. Men crawled forward through the surf, dragging rifles, slipping on wet sand. Some took cover behind steel obstacles, jagged metal meant to stop tanks, now the only shelter for the living. Every few seconds, a mortar exploded nearby, throwing sand and bodies into the air. The smell of cordite and burning fuel filled the air. The sea hissed as it swallowed fire from the wrecked landing craft. Medics shouted for stretchers. Officers waved their men forward, hands trembling but voices steady. Slowly, painfully, they began to move. Crawling, stumbling, firing when they could. Inch by inch, the British commandos pushed up the beach. The sand beneath them churned with shrapnel and smoke. Behind them, naval guns thundered from the sea, sending massive shells over their heads toward the German defenses. The sound shook the ground, a reminder that they were not alone. One bunker went silent after a direct hit, then another. The men pushed forward again, screaming, fighting, falling, and at last, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the seawall. Breathless, covered in sand and blood, they looked up. Ahead stood the enemy's final line of defense, concrete, barbed wire, and fire. But they were ashore. Sword Beach was no longer just a name on a map. It was real, and they were still alive. The battle for Normandy had begun.
Securing the beachhead.
The guns still thundered in the distance, but on the shoreline, the chaos began to fade into silence. Smoke drifted low across the sand, gray, heavy, smelling of salt and death. The Commandos moved carefully now, weapons raised, eyes searching for any sign of movement. Here and there, a wounded man called out for help, his voice lost in the wind. Medics worked without rest, kneeling beside the fallen, wrapping bandages, whispering words of comfort that no one could hear. Engineers cleared the beach of mines, cutting through wire, marking safe paths inland. The tanks came next, massive silhouettes crawling up from the surf, engines growling as they rolled over wreckage and debris. By mid-morning, the first German bunkers had been taken. The Union Jack was raised above a shattered pillbox, a small victory on a beach of loss. The men gathered behind cover, counting the few who still stood. No cheering, no celebration, only quiet faces covered in sand and exhaustion. Sword Beach was secured, but the war was far from over. The advance toward Caen. By afternoon, the tide had turned, both in the sea and on the shore. Columns of soldiers began to move inland, leaving behind the ruins of Sword Beach and stepping into the green fields of Normandy. The road to Caen lay ahead, a narrow path through hedgerows, farms, and villages scarred by battle. The air was thick with smoke and the distant crack of gunfire. Somewhere beyond the hills, German artillery searched for targets, shells whistling overhead before crashing into the earth. The Commandos advanced cautiously, weapons ready, nerves taut. Every bend in the road could hide an ambush. Every farmhouse could be a strong point. Civilians emerged from cellars, faces pale, eyes wide. Some wept, some saluted, others simply stared in disbelief. A French farmer pointed toward the south. Les Allemands, là-bas. The enemy still holding the way to Caen. British Shermans rumbled past, churning up mud, their engines drowning out the cries of the wounded and the sounds of burning villages behind them. A young soldier paused at the edge of the road, looking back toward the sea, a faint line of gray smoke rising over the horizon. He took a deep breath, gripped his rifle tighter, and moved on. Ahead, the city of Caen waited, and with it, the next test of courage. The first step into France was over. The real battle had just begun. Linkup with Canadians. As evening fell, the sound of battle began to fade. The beaches behind them were secure, the path inland hard-won but open. Through the haze and drifting smoke, another column appeared. Canadian troops advancing from Juno Beach. Dusty, exhausted, their faces marked by the same struggle, the two forces met on a narrow road near Luc-sur-Mer. There were no speeches, no ceremony, only silent nods and tired smiles. A British sergeant offered a cigarette to a Canadian lieutenant. For a brief moment, amid the ruins of war, there was laughter. Together, they had secured the eastern flank of the invasion. But ahead, Caen still waited, and beyond it, a long road to victory. The men knew this was only the beginning, yet for the first time that day, they allowed themselves to hope.
Outro and channel message.
The story of Sword Beach is a story of courage, of ordinary men who faced the impossible and did not turn away. More than 600 British soldiers fell that day, but their sacrifice opened the gates of Europe and began the long road to liberation. If this history moved you, share it, so their story is not forgotten. Subscribe for more true moments from the past, told through the eyes of those who lived them. This was Sword Beach, June 6, 1944.
Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like and share this video.